Good evening, everyone out there. It's another episode of the Talk That Talk Show with me, Barry Holmes. Had a great week this week so far. Had a good work week. Was able to spend some family time at home. So I just feel really fulfilled. And, with all the bowling that I've done, definitely had a couple good first nights of bowling, whether it was earlier on in the week. Yesterday didn't do as well as I could have wanted to, but I think the great thing about the weekend, or when you have certain things that happen and they don't go your way, it's just another chance to get right back on the horse. I'm gonna be able to sub tomorrow, so I'm just really itching to get back out there. A lot of the bowling community, a lot of my bowling friends have just said how I've been getting better. And it's just like anything in life. The more reps you get and the more experience that you pick up, the better that you're gonna get. And now we come into a weekend where there's a lot of different sports that are going on still. We got a lot of hockey, we got some basketball, and obviously some football with some key pivotal matchups coming up here on Sunday. So we got a really great show lined up for you, and just even looking forward to this weekend. I mean, there's so many things that I'm going to be, watching. I'm definitely going to have to tell Pops to get the popcorn ready for. So, all week, I've had some great sports conversations. I've had a lot of great things that people have been asking me. I've really done this thing on Instagram now where I've allowed people to, ask me some questions every Wednesday. So it's kind of led for some good material here for you all to listen to and enjoy today. So definitely want to shout out everybody that's tuning in on our Facebook live stream. Shout out to Randy G, Andy Castaldo, my boy Andrew James Lynch. We've been killing it on 2K. We got to get on there soon, brother. But definitely check out our Facebook page as well. I think we're at over 50 likes, and I just started it, not too long ago. So let's try and get that up there. Check us out on the Facebook Live page, Talk That Talk Show.
Talk that talk!
Also check us out on YouTube. I got a YouTube page up now, so if you want to check out some of these full-length episodes, or if you have friends that aren't Facebook friends with me, just tell them to go to Talk That Talk Show on YouTube. We got our own YouTube channel now.
Tell a friend!
You can always check us out on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts as well. We got so many streams and ways for you to get this content, so definitely check it out and tell a friend, because we're not stopping. This Talk That Talk Show is something that's culminated into something that I look forward to every week, and we have a lot of people that look forward to it too. Definitely the conversations that I've gotten, have been a lot of positive things, and it's just so empowering. It's so empowering, and that's why I put so much into giving you all a great show and something that's very well produced and well prepared for. So let's jump into the first topic of the afternoon, or shall I say of the evening. And I couldn't wait to talk about this. So me and my dad, we were bowling on Saturday, and because the fight was in Saudi Arabia, it wound up being right at the time that we were bowling. So I had to make sure that I was streaming on my cell phone, even though Sprint has some terrible service. We were chopping in and out of the rounds. But I have to talk about this Andy Ruiz Jr., Anthony Joshua fight. And, a lot of people were like, well, why is Andy Ruiz still an underdog when he won the first time? And this was a big rematch. This was something that I feel like a lot of people wanted to see. That third or fourth round where they were just throwing blows in the first fight was one of the best, rounds of boxing that people have been talking about all, for the year. So this rematch was something that everybody was looking forward to. And it was something that, in a way, I felt like it almost wasn't exactly what we were expecting, right? So with these guys, they were trading blows, and it was just devastation in those rounds and knockdowns. And here in this second, fight of the rematch, it was more of a tactical fight. And we saw about more of the preparation that it takes to get into boxing shape. And when you look at, Andy Ruiz, the guy came in at 280. 280, that's about 20 pounds more than what he weighed in the first time at? And if you're a person that's trying to defend their belt and, you're someone that just did an improbable, upset, you would think that you want to be in the best shape ever, whatever that you can be, to try and take out your opponent. And my man Ruiz said he let the partying get to him. He let the drinks and the girls, it all came to him, and he gained all this weight and couldn't lay off the food. And this is what I'm talking about as far as having that sort of accountability and having the right people in your corner to prepare you the right way. And Andy Ruiz went against his trainers and decided to do his own training preparation on his own. And we see the result of what happened. All right. Anthony Joshua was hitting him with the jab, keeping him at distance with that jab. And he almost looked like Ali out there in the ring, just the way he just kept floating around and moving. And Andy Ruiz just looked slow and overweight. That's what he looked like. And it's a shame, man, because I really think that Andy Ruiz Jr. is somebody that has that punch power, and he is somebody that could potentially be a heavyweight champion like he was in Defend. But, we just didn't see enough from Andy Ruiz. Even me and my dad, when we were watching the streamed fight on our phone, we were just saying that he just wasn't active enough, all right? Anthony Joshua, he just stayed with that jab and kept him at distance. And when you saw how overweight Andy Ruiz was, it just speaks to the mobility that you really need to have to be a champion boxer, all right? And there's no shortcuts in this. There's no shortcuts. So when I think about this now and what is going to happen afterwards, you have Anthony Joshua who has all these belts, and you have to wonder, will there be a trilogy to this fight, all right? Andy Ruiz took the first one in a nice fashion where he knocked out Joshua multiple times, and now you have a situation where Anthony Joshua came in much more prepared and had a tactical plan. It wasn't sexy boxing, obviously, but it was the points. It was almost like a Mayweather type of style. But in the trilogy, I think that this will happen. There will be a trilogy, but I don't think it's what everybody wants to see. Everybody wants and is waiting to see what is going to happen with Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. That fight might be one of the fights of the decade almost, because it's just so much buildup, especially with just how much devastation they had in that first fight too. So, I think that Anthony Joshua for a while has been avoiding both Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. But I think that if Joshua does decide to put his big boy pants on and fight one of those two, I think it could be the makings of another great fight, and we could start another trilogy potentially. But it's all depending on, Anthony Joshua. And this is the main thing as far as why people are so into UFC now as opposed to boxing, is because the fights that we want to see aren't what we see, right? It's always just with the promoters, and they're worried about getting losses on the records. Back in old boxing and 15-round fights that they had, people didn't care about their record. They were going out fighting anybody. And I think that's what's lost here in boxing. So hopefully with these next couple fights that happen, we just got to see what happens with Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. If you ask me, I'm still going to go Deontay Wilder because, that punch power is ridiculous, man. So if you don't know who Deontay Wilder is or Tyson Fury, please go on YouTube and check them out, because that fight coming up, that rematch is going to be, I can't wait, man. I can't wait. I can't wait. But moving on from boxing, now we got to talk about my boy Jackrabbit, Janoris Jenkins.
Janoris Jenkins.
Janoris Jenkins just got released by the Giants, if you didn't already know. And if they didn't need another distraction or something to put some gasoline on the fire. And we have Janoris Jenkins, who, I've interviewed him this season. I've talked to him, in past seasons. And, he seems like a guy that sometimes passes the buck, all right? If you don't know what that means, it's just not really taking accountability. I remember in the locker room, he's talking about how the Giants pass rush. Hey, I can't defend for 8 seconds. I can't cover for 8 seconds. They got to get a pass rush on the quarterback. And who wants that type of guy in their locker room, man? So I think that the conversation, well, what it originally stems around, or what the Giants have released to us of what they said is that he used the word retard. All right, he called the fan a retard. I looked it up on Twitter. He was basically going back and forth with this fan that was saying, "Hey, why are you posting about your stats and why you're, this good when it hasn't equated to the wins?" And Janoris Jenkins said something to the account of, just doing my job, retard. And, I think that us all growing up, I'm not going to say that it's not a slang term because, I've in the past have used that. But since I've worked in, the school community and been around, children that might not be at the same intellectual level as, everyone else. So I've definitely made a conscious decision to not call people retards, right? And not say you're retarded. So, it's definitely a mistake that we've all made and that we sometimes consciously try not to do, depending on who we're around. But it's something that, we should obviously consciously try not to say. But is it something that deserves to be released by your team? I don't know. And the way that the way that the story is now starting to unfold about this is that, David Gettleman, the coach, Pat Shurmur, they have said that he refused to take accountability or he refused to admit that he did something wrong. And I could see that, maybe if that's how you want to spin it or if that's what you want to say. But I just think that this is something of almost the nature, not that the punishment suits the crime, but it might speak to some of the deeper issues as far as, what is happening with Janoris Jenkins. Is he 100% happy being in New York? Does he have a great relationship with Pat Shurmur? I feel like this is something that could have easily been just, not wiped under the rug, but it could have been easily just stopped, fixed, finished. He apologized, you move forward with the team and try and get, 3 wins? Because, I think that in the large scale of things, this is something that, how could I say? It's definitely a bigger issue. And when you have Twitter and you have Instagram, we're Facebook Living here, and the interactions that you can have with people are so instantaneous. And a lot of times people are so quick to respond that they don't exactly think about the way things are perceived as to what they say. And when you have athletes out here that have the platform that they have, and you have millions and thousands of people that are constantly looking at your every move and your every go and everything that you're thinking and saying. We all have those athletes that we follow on social media. But it just speaks to the fact that those same athletes need to have somebody in their corner, whether it be a publicist, a family member, or something that can tell them, say, hey, don't tweet that, all right? Don't say that, all right? Your personal brand and your reputation is something that it goes with you, man, anywhere that you go. And to now have Janoris Jenkins, who they had about 8-9 million left on his contract in another year, it just speaks to the how could I say, the lack of trust that the New York Giants had with Janoris Jenkins to say that, hey, we can reconcile this, or, hey, your character is good enough to where we think that you can stay and help this franchise rebuild. And when you look at Gettleman, he's gotten rid of Odell Beckham Jr., he's gotten rid of Olivier Vernon, gotten rid of Damon Snacks Harrison. So, when you have these people or these personalities that sometimes can try and be bigger than the locker room or bigger than the game, the Giants have shown that they will ship you out somewhere. And unluckily for Janoris Jenkins, he said that he's so happy that he got dropped from the Giants or released. But, I'm thinking, what team is really going to want to pick him up mid-season now, right? Trade deadline has passed. You have these teams. I think, honestly, if you ask me who could really potentially be a team that could land Janoris Jenkins, a team that maybe might be trying to make it into the playoff push, look no further than the Eagles and the Cowboys. These are two teams that have struggled against the pass, and I take it one step. If you look at Janoris Jenkins and you see the type of person that he is and how he's constantly on social media trying to prove these people wrong, I mean, the narrative could definitely shift to him trying to stay in the same division and help a team to try and go far and to say, hey, Giants, remember when you guys cut me because of a tweet? All right, I'm about to go ball out. I'm about to go get myself a chip. And I mean, I'm not saying that he could get a chip with the Eagles or the Cowboys per se, but what I am saying is it fits to the narrative as to where he could potentially land. You have two teams that are desperately trying to get some sort of help. But I mean, I think that price tag is going to steer a lot of people away as far as trying to pick him up. So I have to really wonder if this is the real reason why he got cut. You know, I know everybody's been saying that, but you really have to take a look and see if this is going to affect him in the long term or in his career moving forward. I'm really interested to see if he's going to get picked up by anybody. But, you know, talking about from Janoris Jenkins, I definitely got to take this and celebrate somebody who initially I definitely thought he was almost a one-trick pony. But, you know, Lamar Jackson, he broke the rushing record. And, you know, I definitely going to give him his congratulations because that guy can ball. I mean, he went on Thursday Night Football and absolutely smoked the Jets.
Smoked!
And you know how disgusting he smoked them? He smoked them so bad that he had a line of Jets players willing to grab his jersey, say, can you please sign my jersey? That's like, can you imagine in high school, you just lost to, you know, J.P. Stevens in a rival game, and you go and ask for their jersey and sign it. I can't be me, dog. If you just smoked me by over 20 points, I don't care if the guy broke the rushing record. If I'm the New York Jets, I'm not going to be lined up saying, hey, Lamar, can you please sign my jersey?
Don't happen in old school.
Nah, man.
We hate each other.
It's so ridiculous. So, I mean, I'm sorry.
Get out of here.
I just think it's ridiculous.
Get out of
for the
here.
Jets for them to, you know, be lined up waiting to get their jersey signed by the guy that smoked you. But, you know, to Lamar Jackson, he has, 1,103 rushing yards on the season. And to put it in perspective to you for how dominant of a rusher that is that, damn, this guy really has more rushing yards than the Chicago Bears, Jeffrey's Atlanta Falcons, Peter's New York Jets, and the Miami Dolphins, all right? All four of those teams, Lamar Jackson has more rushing yards than. I got to take a sip of the ginger ale to that. But I think that now the question that people are going to start saying is it time to say that he's better than Michael Vick? And when you beat the guy's record who they're trying to compare you against, it's kind of hard for you to not say that he's better than that guy. But I want people to be patient, all right? Be patient, because when we ask this thing, I think that Lamar Jackson's potential is very much on the horizon of being way astronomically better than Michael Vick. But I'm a results guy. I'm from the tri-state. I want to see some results, all right? You can't sell me a dream and a promise, all right? But what I will say is, if we are patient, we let Lamar Jackson get his MVP, I think he almost has to win the chip now. He's got to win the Super Bowl, right? Because, I mean, everybody in the world has the Ravens picked to win the Super Bowl, all right? I mean, they're going out smoking everybody by a wide margin. They're going in as 15-point favorites against the Jets, right? So this is a team that a lot of people have confidence in, and it's because of Lamar Jackson, right? I think when he broke that record, he almost surely put himself as the MVP. I mean, who's next? Russell Wilson? I mean, I know Russell's doing a good job. I mean, he was in the hunt for a while, but as of right now, and I think until the end of the season, this is Lamar Jackson's MVP trophy. I'm going to finally say it, all right? But now I have to say that because he's such a humble guy and doesn't like to talk about himself and is just so about winning, it just makes him likable and it makes you want to root for him. And the key word to that is marketability, right? So it's only a matter of time before we see Lamar Jackson plastered over all of our, social media feeds if they aren't already. Start maybe to see him on some commercials, and who knows? Maybe he might get signed by some big time companies or corporations if he hasn't already. So my main thing is to Lamar Jackson, definitely keep doing what you're doing, brother, because you are assuring MVP. And when you break records like that, man, you're going to have a lot of people putting some high expectations on you. And for a lot of Ravens fans, I'm very curious to know if the Ravens don't win the Super Bowl, is this a disappointing season for you all? All right? I mean, is this a disappointing season? Are you just going to be happy with another AFC North championship?
Right.
Are you going to be happy with an MVP trophy from Lamar Jackson? But if you don't win the Super Bowl, is this a disappointing year for the Ravens? I would like to know that. Because for me, I'm not a Ravens fan, but I almost think that this is a disappointment to the Ravens if you do not go out and win the Super Bowl.
Word.
You have such high expectations on this team, and you have the MVP on your team. You have Mark Ingram, who's running all over the place. You have a defense that's got a bunch of studs, young studs. Is it a disappointment if this team does not win the Super Bowl? And if that doesn't happen, you better believe I'm going to hold Lamar Jackson accountable. Because is this your king? I need to know. And now switching from the NFL, we got to talk to the MLB as far as what they have done in the recent days, right? And what they did was the Major League Baseball, if you didn't already know, they dropped weed from their drugs of abuse list, right? So we had Sam Joshi on the show, and he's talking about, how legalization is on the horizon here in New Jersey. And it's also on the horizon across the country, right? So this is going to be constantly a topic that people are going to be using to promote themselves into positions in politics. You're going to have people that are going to be, and even leagues here now, and just with the Major League Baseball, what they're doing, it's constantly revolving about how you're going to regulate the use and consumption of marijuana and what it's going to do and have the effect on people, right? And now when you look at the MLB and what they've done, they have dropped it from their ban list, right? So now when you talk about, players that are trying to overcome what they're trying to do and their coping strategies or whatever as far as muscle relaxation or whatever you want to call it, weed is now going to be categorized in the same realm as alcohol-related things, which is basically team-based, right? Whatever their rules is by the clubhouse, right? By the team, but every team has their own contract, and every team that is in the MLB has to be in that umbrella of rules, right? And now, when you look at what they're focused on and what they're going to try and eliminate or eradicate, it's the use of opioids and cocaine. And this has stemmed from what happened with Tyler Skaggs and, when he died for the Los Angeles Angels, and, rest in peace to him. But his death represents some things that have been happening for a long time. I mean, you look at, the pitcher for the Mets, and Doc Gooden, who's somebody who really struggled from cocaine abuse. And you have Darryl Strawberry, who, ruined his career based off of his own substance abuse issues. So this is something that isn't just been happening because of Tyler Skaggs. But this is a problem, and the opioid and cocaine use is something that's very big in the MLB, and it's something that we don't know about. I mean, look at these guys, and, they're in the clubhouse, and we don't know what they're doing before the game or during the game, as, Doc Gooden had said before. But this issue now is taken away from weed, right? So we're taking the marijuana out of the equation, and we're trying to elevate the awareness as far as how opioid and cocaine use is hurting the athletes out there. And I mean, just look at even our own community here in Edison. You have people that are dying from overdoses, and some of our friends, their relatives have died from, opioid use and, all the overdoses. And it's something that you never want to see, right? So I like that the MLB is taking a step here and saying, hey, let's not focus on the weed, all right? And let's focus on the real issue. And what that is the cocaine and the opioid use, because it just represents the big issue as far as what is hurting these athletes in the major league and then across other leagues as well, too. Let's focus on something, the real problem, all right? And I'm really glad to see that the MLB is doing this, all right? I wonder if the NBA would go as far as to do this, because you've seen so many NBA players that are talking about their own marijuana use. So I'd love to see how that works, but I don't think that they're going to be doing that anytime soon, and we'll talk about that in a little bit far in the show with something else we have. But, shout out to the MLB for doing the right thing, all right? Let's focus on the bigger issue. And I told you we would get to it, but we got to talk about the biggest dunce of the week. This guy is the biggest bozo, Barry's bozo of the week, if that's what we want to call him. But this bozo goes out to your boy Dion Waiters. Dutch, what's going on with your boy Dion Waiters, man? The Heat have had a great season so far this year. I mean, they're 18-6. They're proving a lot of people wrong, and a lot of people thought that, hey, the Heat are rebuilding. They ain't going to do nothing. They stink, right? All they got is Goran and a bunch of young players. But they got Jimmy Butler now and Tyler Hero, who's showing that he's a good baller. And they got an 18-6 record. And if I'm Dion Waiters, I signed this big money contract to come to Miami to be the man, because I'm Dion Waiters. I got swag, bro. I don't got to go to Oklahoma City. And what does he do? He's been suspended 3 times this season. The Heat have only played 24 games. My man, and I said to you before I was going to say about why I don't think the NBA is going to ban, I don't think they're going to take weed off the ban list, because you have people like Dion Waiters that are taking edibles on the plane and gets a panic attack. Come on, bro. You about to go to a game, man. Why are you taking an edible? And for that to have a panic attack, and he got a 10-game suspension because of that, right? So you've been suspended 10 games for eating an edible, all right? You missed the first game because of, whatever team-related conduct issues. I mean, you're supposed to be the veteran guy here, man. And for the second time this season, third time, failure to adhere to team policies and, misuse of team rules, right? Another situation where we have Dion Waiters, who just can't do what he's supposed to do, man. And let's take this into perspective, right? Because for every consequence, for every thing that happens, there's a consequence. And I'd like to take it to the money aspect. This man is making $12.1 million a year on his salary, and he's already been suspended $1.4 million in fines from that. If I'm an NBA player, if I'm making millions of dollars, I'm sorry, man. I'm not getting suspended for, not following the team code or being a good teammate. I mean, Pat Riley's saying that he suspended this guy because of his conduct on the bench. Bro, you're injured. You're not even in the game. You've been suspended so many times. Why can't you get yourself out of the doghouse, bro? Be the veteran that they paid you to be. You still got 1 year on his contract, and it's not an option, so he has to be there. And what team is he really going to try and vie for and say, hey, trade for me, guys. I've been suspended 3 times this year, but I promise I'll be good. I'll be good. What team is going to, in their right mind, trade for Dion Waiters? Bro, you still have a chance to do something good for the Heat. This Heat team is good. But if they keep doing well without you, bro, I could see this team, cutting ties with Dion Waiters, man. And then what team is really going to pick him up? We've seen how brutal the NBA is with Melo, and Melo didn't even have any real conduct issues, right? It was all hearsay. So here's a guy in Dion Waiters who can't stay out of trouble, who can't stop taking edibles on the plane, right? Come on, bro. You're an NBA athlete, and it's so ridiculous, and I told you before about how we need to have some sort of family friend or just somebody in the team, office or somebody to help these guys to make good decisions. Every team should have like a team mentor or somebody that's constantly around these guys. I know they're grown men. These are grown men, but, sometimes when they get this money, they don't think like grown men, right? When you have these people that they haven't had money, right? It becomes hard to manage that money and hard to manage these egos. So I feel like Dion Waiters, it represents, again, another bigger issue that athletes have as far as managing their personal brand, dog. how are you going to manage yourself or how are you going to market yourself? We talk about Lamar Jackson, right? Lamar Jackson is just such a great dude from what we see as the people, right? We see whatever that they put on that tube, right? So in that realm, you have to, project yourself or put yourself in the light that is deemed, successful or productive. And what Dion Waiters is doing a disservice to himself and the work that he has supposedly put in the gym over the summer. So, it's crazy and it'll always be mind-boggling to me how these guys can consistently miss time for team conduct issues and cost themselves millions of dollars because they can't follow directions, bro. We talk to children about that, about following directions. So, well, the one team that did follow my directions was the New York Knicks. And they did, in fact, fire David Fizdale. Now, a lot of people are saying, oh, he was a scapegoat. Oh, he didn't deserve it. Well, you know my stance on it. He was brought in to develop, and the team didn't develop. All right? So right now, Mike Miller is the interim coach. And one of the great questions that I had on Wednesday, and like I said, I've been asking, people on my Instagram account, bholmes45, follow me if you want. But what I've been doing is I've been asking every Wednesday if people want to, ask me anything, ask a question, go ahead. And one of the questions I got was, who will be the Knicks head coach next year? And I think this is a great question. And I just think it's something that we got to break down real quick. So you have Mike Miller, who's the interim head coach. The Knicks did beat the Golden State Warriors, even though they blew a 21-point lead like the Knicks normally do. But they won the game. That was one more win that they got, so I'm very happy about that. I mean, 5 is better than 4, right? But Mike Miller has a chance to earn himself a job here for the Knicks. If he is able to improve this team and have them play much better effort-wise, if they can make a drastic leap, I don't see why Mike Miller wouldn't get this job. Because, for one, the New York Knicks are always trying to find the cost-efficient answer, right? And I think that Mike Miller is a low-cost, low-risk guy. Because say he doesn't do well, oh well, scrap him, go to the next guy, right? So that's what the Knicks have done. They've scrapped Jeff Hornacek, they've scrapped Derek Fisher, they've scrapped Mike Woodson, they've scrapped the last guy, David Fizdale. They have constantly revolved with coaches. So if that's what you're showing that you are, why not get the interim guy? Because if he doesn't do good, you'll cut him just like you've done everybody else. So, even though there might be the cost-efficient answer, that might not be the right hire. And what some people have now linked the Knicks to is that guy, Jason Kidd. Now, Jason Kidd might be a good pick as far as having a coach for the Knicks, but I don't think personally he has shown the track record of success. He hasn't shown that much success at his previous tenures that leads me to believe that, hey, Jason Kidd is a guy that can turn the Knicks around. But the only reason why I would take Jason Kidd, if they take him, is so that we could potentially get Giannis Antetokounmpo in free agency. That I could definitely see the Knicks using that as a ploy to get the hopes up of all of our fans and say, hey, we got Jason Kidd. We got a real good chance of trying to land Giannis, right? So, I mean, it would be the Knicks thing to do, right? I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. But the next thing that a lot of people have been saying and telling me is that, oh, we want Mark Jackson. I think Mark Jackson is the guy. I think he's one of the best. I think it would be great for the Knicks. And, it could work. I mean, he was responsible for building the foundation of that Warriors dynasty. But what has linked a lot of things with Mark Jackson, for such a good coach, haven't you wondered why he hasn't been offered another opportunity all these years? And you have to think as to why. And what, a lot of people have told me is that, with Mark Jackson, there becomes a lot of distractions, right? And when you look at why they eventually had gotten rid of him in the Warriors, was because they said in the locker room, he had created an us versus management type of argument in the locker room every single game, right? So if you're saying that this guy got fired from the Warriors for creating an us versus them mentality, how can you expect that Mark Jackson can be the face of the rebuild and have trust in him to not create that same mentality, right? Everybody in the world is saying how terrible our management is with New York. So why would you bring in a guy to coach the Knicks that has shown that he was created this us versus management mentality? So I scratch him off the list, right? But if you ask Barry, I personally in my heart, I would love to see Jeff Van Gundy step back in and coach the Knicks. Is his game a little bit past? I mean, has the game progressed too much? I don't know. But I mean, I think he would do better than David Fizdale, honestly. But if you think about the realistic hire or somebody I think that would be the right fit, I'm going to have to go with what one of my friends on bowling, Anthony, had said. And he said that he would take Tom Thibodeau. And I really thought about it, and it starts to make sense when you think about it. I mean, Tom Thibodeau is somebody in Minnesota who got fired for having, a winning record? Or he turned that franchise around. I mean, you look at him, they got rid of him at the Bulls, and it was only because he couldn't beat LeBron, right? He couldn't beat the Cavs. He couldn't beat the Celtics. I mean, those guys, they were tough. It was tough for them. The Bulls he had maximized the Bulls and created that, toughness, and some could say was responsible for leading Derrick Rose to get that MVP. So, I think that Tom Thibodeau is someone that can improve immediately the Knicks defense. He is a tough, hard-nosed guy. When I met him at Kobe Bryant's book signing in New York, I knew that this guy was straight business, just from the way he talked to you, just from the way he shook your hand, right? So I would love to see him as a coach for the New York Knicks. So, if anybody in the Knicks management is listening to me, Steve, Mills, Scott Perry, go get Tom Thibodeau. All right, go give him a call. He's interviewed for the job before. Open your eyes. Sometimes the things that you seek are right in front of you. All right?
Stay woke.
Stay woke. And, moving forward from that, the Knicks are going to be looking for their first ever winning streak.
Yay!
They're looking for back-to-back wins for the first time this season.
It's happening tonight.
Tonight against the Kings. Now, Dad thinks it's going to happen tonight.
It's happening.
But I don't know, man. The Kings got Marvin Bagley back from his hand injury. They got smoked the first time. The Knicks got smoked by the Kings. And they just look like a younger, more talented team out there. And they really, how could I say? When I watched that game the first time, I just saw cohesion. You saw the extra pass. You had guys making plays for other guys. And I think that that's something that the Knicks could really take a blueprint from and look and see what they're missing from, They did put out a good effort against the Warriors, so some could think that, hey, maybe the Knicks could strike lightning twice. But, I'm a realistic Knicks fan, and I just don't see them winning the second game. But I hope that they do, right? I'm still going to watch. I'm still going to be up there saying, hey, repping my Knicks, even when they're down, even when they're losing, even when I wear their stuff in the bowling alley, people ask me, why do you have a Knicks stuff on? Why are you wearing that stuff? Because I'm a fan. And you definitely have to make sure that in the darkest of times, your light shines the brightest, all right? If your team sucks, the one thing like Jeff, if your team sucks, Jeff, your Atlanta Falcons are sucking, wear some Falcon stuff still, man. Don't hide that stuff in the closet, all right? If you're a Jets fan, wear your Jets jersey proudly, all right? Even if you're losing, you still got to rep your team. So I'm always going to rep the Knicks. But as a realistic Knicks fan, I have to say I don't think they got a shot at back-to-back wins. But one can only hope. And with that, it ends our episode here of the Talk That Talk show. Oh man. But we got to give definitely a shout out to the people on our Facebook live stream. Shout out to my boy Stefan, my boy Marcus, Randy Delana, Charnel Guidry, Landis Crawford, Jared Kane, Laszlo, Richard NG, Tim Murray, Travis Urban, my boy John Hoffman, Antoine Jefferson, Angela Edwards, Tyree watching from the living room 2 times, Eric Temple. Thank you to everybody that was on our Facebook live stream. You had it booming for us tonight. especially on a Friday.
Friday!
I definitely want to extend my thank you to everyone that was tuned in.
Talk that talk!
Because, I know on Friday you could be out partying, doing whatever you want to do. But I appreciate you spending these 40 minutes with me, all right? Thank you, Aisha. I had a great day with work with you today. You're such an awesome person. Thank you, Aisha, for your support. But, that extends out to everybody else. Thank you for supporting my show. Thank you for supporting my dream, my vision, my passion. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for every single one of you out there. So, also wouldn't be here if it wasn't for our sponsors. Shout out to Executive Bar and Restaurant located in 30 Menu Street, Carteret, New Jersey. Shout out to my boy Jose, who came out to the bar and saw me bartend. You can always get some good drinks and some good food over there. Also want to give a shout out to VW Liquors, located in Wick Plaza, Edison, New Jersey. I got the shirt on for you, Dave. Here we go. Let's go, Mets! Let's go, Mets! We always do that for Dave at the end of the show. And then finally, we got to give a shout out to my boy Cody Bromley at 91s.com. They got the best acid wash apparel in the game. Woo! Go get you some fresh threads from my boy Cody.
Get him!
And, that about does it for our show here. Another great one in the books. I'm going to do my job to get this all edited out and put on the airwaves so that you can listen in. I know my boy Rob, when he has his long trips and is driving the truck, he loves to throw this on and listening on Spotify and Google Podcasts and Apple Podcasts. So, I make this content for you all, man. I don't care if you sometimes you can't make that live stream. So you can, that's why you can always check in on YouTube, check on our Facebook page, check in on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, any streaming platform. My show is there for you whenever you decide to listen in or watch, all right? You don't have to worry about me. I'm constantly going to put out this content for you all because at the end of the day, you got to do what makes you happy. And what makes me happy is providing you all a quality show every single week. I literally wake up thinking about different ways to make this show, even better. And, I think about different ways to become a better podcaster. And just the fact that everyone continues to be patient with me with my ever-changing schedule. People show the same amount of interest in giving me feedback and making me better. So, it just makes me so proud to continue to be up here in front of you all every week. And, every week I have someone listening. So thank you all for being there for me, whether you're in China or whether you're listening in from Jersey. I'll always have the Talk That Talk show for you there as long as I'm living and breathing. So thank you all for tuning in. My name is Barry Holmes. This is the Talk That Talk show. Every single week you will have the Talk That Talk show here for you, all right? My name is Barry Holmes. You obviously heard my soundboard and my dad in the back, and I am out of here.